Hey, what's good, self-direct investors? I hope you're all doing great, and I want to welcome you back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jordan. I'm the mind behind Make More Capital, and today we're going to do a quick midweek update, and there's a whole lot of news, the best possible news we could have asked for. Now, before we jump in, if you enjoyed this video or you learned something, please just leave a like on the video as it really helps out my channel, and I do appreciate it. And then, of course, if you think this is going to be a big industry and you want to learn how to take advantage, please subscribe so that you don't miss any new videos. And to get caught up to speed, I would recommend starting with the series Reality Check Cannabis in 2020. It's an educational series on the plant and the industry as it's developed, and then you can watch episodes of This Week in Cannabis leading up until now, as I've talked about what we were expecting through the election, what actually happened, which was the best case scenario, and what we can expect going forward. And on Monday, what a surprise! The first day of February, the Democratic Senate leaders announced steps to federally legalize cannabis in 2021. And we don't just see this from Marijuana Moment, we see this from CNBC as well. A little bit different wording. Will push to pass pot reform bill this year. And then, of course, the Hill goes, Senate Democrats say consideration of cannabis reforms will be a priority. Imagine you just got rid of consideration of. Senate Democrats say cannabis reforms will be a priority. That's a perfectly normal sentence without the fluff, right? But so anyways, I want to point this out that yes, I mean, it's great that the Democrats have put that intention out there, led by the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. And then so we've also got the Senate Finance Committee Chairman Ron Wyden. And I have a clip that we're going to reference in a bit. But so basically what this shows us is that we've got a team of Democratic politicians, and of course we do need some Republican votes in order for this to pass, but nonetheless, they're cooking something up, and we just got to be patient and trust their word, and that they are intending to move forward with this. And yeah, of course, they are emphasizing on the war on drugs. The war on drugs has been a war on people, particularly people of color. Yes, that's a fact, and we need to fix that wrong. But what these mainstream posts don't necessarily talk about is also the other amazing ripple effects of tax revenue, jobs, all these different things, giving police less power, being able to actually research the medical benefits, the therapeutic benefits. So a lot of good to come out of this. Not going to go through all of these because they all say the same thing, but you can obviously find those below. Now, here are some clips that I will show you. And these are, again, other politicians that are raising their voice and speaking up and putting their intention out there that they are for this reform. So we just got to be patient. But so check this out from Republican Perlmutter from Colorado.
We passed the MORE Act in the House. We also passed the Safe Banking Act, which is narrower and really focuses on the banking relationships. But my guess is we're going to get some broader legislation.
His guess.
Two quick questions then, just to follow up before we let you go. Do you see the Safe Banking Act going through with the effort here that we're expecting on this next stimulus bill as you see it? And then two, I guess, in terms of where it could go after that, how quickly do you think that they might actually get to something that looks like the MORE Act?
So your first question, do I plan to ask that the Safe Banking Act be part of the overall COVID reconciliation bill? Yes, I plan on asking that. Whether it gets in there or not, we'll see how that works. Plan on passing it as a standalone bill.
And so just a reminder, we've got two bills. The Safe Banking Act, which allows these companies to uplist on U.S. exchanges and to open bank accounts and allows these banks and U.S. institutions to invest without fear of federal prosecution. The Safe Banking Act would be better for investors. Then we have the MORE Act, which is the bill that actually deschedules cannabis from the Controlled Substances Act and also obviously expunges all the records and whatnot. The MORE Act, that's for legalization. Like, I personally want the MORE Act to come first. But, the culture, unfortunately in America, focuses a bit more on profit than humanity, so that's why it's almost as if the Safe Banking Act will come first. But regardless, what they're telling us is that the Safe Banking Act and the MORE Act are in play, and they're intending to make it a priority and do it this year. So that was from Republican Perlmutter, or Senator Perlmutter, my apologies. And then this is actually from with Wyden, who's supposed to be the Senate, or the head of the Finance Committee. So let me just point this out. Ron Wyden, who assumed the top spot in the Senate Finance Committee under the chamber's new Democratic majority, said his goal will be to end prohibition and come up with a sensible tax and regulatory oversight at the federal level. Excuse me. But so just to point out that, yes, if you're coming into a new position and you're in charge of finance, your job is to find tax revenue for your country. And the one way to increase tax, or to bring in tax revenue, is to increase people's taxes. And everyone hates that. Why would anyone want that? So instead of what, Mitch McConnell would have done in giving the rich tax breaks, why don't you actually just legalize cannabis, regulate it, and tax it? That's another way that you don't piss off the people and you bring in tons of tax revenue. It just makes sense. But finally, someone's making sense in power of the U.S. and just yes, the U.S. needs this money so badly. So
I could just change one of the things that hasn't been talked about, but I know especially in Oregon, where we're a marijuana legal state, do you see any movement, and will you have any role in a national plan to legalize cannabis?
Yeah, the Finance Committee, obviously, because taxes are such an important part of it, we really are the lead committee. So my agenda is end the prohibition and come up with sensible tax and regulatory oversight at the federal level. This is a framework that I've championed, and I'll be championing as chairman. You do that, you take care of the banking question, you take care of the tax question, you take care of the research issue, and this whole array of issues that have been gridlocked because the federal government on cannabis has been tethered to yesteryear.
The Republicans.
That has been the central problem.
They should be for the free market. So anyways, he's announcing that, yes, ending prohibition actually is jobs, tax revenue, all of these research, all of these positive benefits, which are great. So jumping into the state, Illinois has announced their January 1st sales already. It's only February 1st. So February 3rd. So this is pretty amazing that they've managed to get this quickly, and it's possible these will be updated, but nonetheless, what we see compared to 2020 is record amount in in-state sales, surpassing it by 300,000, but still, when you compare it to December, that's an increase. 25 million in out-of-state sales, up from 23, and 88.8 million, up from 86.8 million. So nonetheless, we see growth all across the board. So this is great from Illinois, and like Arizona, literally just legalized adult use last week. Then we've got New Jersey. We're gonna have more states like this. So if you can invest in U.S. multi-state operators that have the footprint in these states, that's the generational opportunity we're talking about. So that's really it for the data this week, but more articles being put out about obviously the benefits of medical cannabis. Cannabis dispensaries linked to nearly 30% drop in opioid deaths study. So this is a study by the British Medical Journal, shows a 17% reduction in opioid deaths between 2014 and 2018 in regions with at least one cannabis dispensary, and a fall by 21% when the number of shops are increased from 1 to 2. At a third dispensary, drops by 8.5. Unbelievable. Like, you can't just keep this illegal now when people need an alternative to a medicine that's going to keep them addicted and eventually overdose. That needs to be fixed so badly. Opioid prescriptions decline in Canada following cannabis legalization. So the studies are out, which is great. And of course, these studies take time, right? But what we could find is that $267,000 was spent on opioids. Now only $95,000 is spent on opioids. So essentially, this is just proving that yes, the opioid epidemic has a solution, and it involves legalizing cannabis. So as we jump over to the states, Pennsylvania has already legalized medical, which is great, and they are including cannabis legalization for adult use as a 2021 priority. So this is awesome and something to look forward to. But again, he's really just giving the intention out there, so there's no bill yet that's been put together. However, New Mexico senators filed 2 cannabis legalization bills with more on the way. So they are working hard, and the first slate of what's expected to be several bills to legalize cannabis in New Mexico were introduced on Monday. Amazing. These did not exist last week, so this is awesome news. Now, Virginia, of course, if you saw my video on the weekend, seems like they've got a long way to go, and they're trying to do this the wrong way, unfortunately, but they have legalization bills that have passed through committees very quickly. And just to point out that Virginia is a very red state in the South, and they have no legal, medical, or recreational. So just the fact that these bills were able to pass without much obstacle in the way, whatnot, that is awesome. This is essentially just showing that the change in state of mind of the leaders is coming through, and that is obviously going to lead to change and more benefits for the citizens of Virginia once these get passed and get through. But again, it's progress. It's changing the narrative, and it's what these articles and actually educating people on cannabis and the facts, the reality, not what they perceive to be true. This makes the difference. And then lastly, Kansas City. Kansas governor proposes paying for Medicaid expansion through legalizing medical cannabis. Yeah, no doubt. You could have done this 5 years ago and not had to figure out this just now. But again, Kansas is a state where I don't believe it's cannabis friendly whatsoever. So the conversation is starting. That is huge because Again, it's a solution for everybody who gets access to this, and it's a chain reaction with the jobs, the tax revenue, and all that, which all of these states need. So to jump over to MSOs, again, they're executing, opening up more stores. Trulieve selected and approved for dispensary permits in West Virginia. So I did cover this in the last episode, but just goes to show that Trulieve is announcing this too. Quite happy to be able to expand into another state. Then we've got Cresco Labs. They have launched adult use sales at their Sunnyside dispensary in Phoenix, Arizona. So although Cresco only has one dispensary in Arizona, obviously, if you have it for medical, you're happy to announce that you can now start selling adult use as well. And if we look back on the weekend, we saw Curaleaf, Harvest Health said they've had increased amount of traffic, almost 2.5 times the amount of sales. So you can imagine Cresco Lab will likely be seeing the same at their one location in Arizona. It's very fitting on top of what their footprint of 10 stores in Illinois already. So that's very nice to see from them. And Green Thumb Industries to open Rise Erie Peach in Pennsylvania. Its 52nd retail location. So again, Green Thumb keeps executing. They keep expanding their footprints in these states. And I'm happy to announce that Green Thumb is the first of all the MSOs to announce when they will hold their fourth quarter and fiscal 2020 year earnings call. This will be on March 17th. So now that we have this, folks, we can anticipate that March 17th, or at least in March, is likely when some of the other MSOs are going to announce. Now, these MSOs do have until the end of April, but nice to see Green Thumb put that out there, so they'll be the first, and I mean, hopefully they can all just kind of announce one after another, and again, I think this is going to be a big catalyst accounting for the holiday sales, and the 5 biggest cannabis sales days of 2020, exactly. And so lastly, we're going to jump back to Canada just because one of BNN's big reporters, David George Kosh, put this out there and announcing, like, hey, it's official. According to Stifel and Headset data, APHA is the top Canadian cannabis producer in Q4 of 2020 with 12.2% market share, followed by Canopy Growth at 10.1%, Redecan 9%, Village Farms 7.2%, and Aurora Cannabis at 7.1%. So hey, kudos to Canopy for battling back and getting up there. But as you can see, these are the dominant established companies that have enough cash to keep going, that are soon to be profitable. Well, I mean, APHA more than some others, but nonetheless, it's just when you consider looking into any of these companies, they're a lot riskier. As you can see, hence it makes more sense why APHA is buying Tilray for that European exposure. But you know, it is a fact to consider that some of these smaller companies are higher risk because they're going to have to go through. I mean, they're obviously going to have to become profitable sooner than later. Otherwise, they could go bankrupt and run out of cash. They might need to consolidate and whatnot. But as I've been saying, if you just go with one of these top picks, it's the best margin of safety you can imagine because Canada gives these companies a footprint into Europe for when that medical opens up, which the US MSOs are not able to do as of yet until legislation changes. So lastly, just want to add, I'll move this one over, but Tilray receives the first and only market authorization to offer medical cannabis products in Portugal. So again, why is this great for Tilray? Well, or why is this great? I would say as an APHA shareholder because of the merger that is set to go through. Tilray becomes APHA. So this becomes property, well, although APHA will become Tilray, this collectively becomes property of APHA and expands APHA's global footprint. And again, if we take a look in their number one, that's why this deal ultimately makes more sense in the end. And the last thing I just want to point out is that on Reddit, we actually have Carl Merton, who's the CFO of APHA. He's come on here multiple times over the past few years, and he doesn't ask me anything. And if you're someone that thinks, okay, I think this is an industry, but I don't know which company to get into, and it seems high risk, spend some time. Like, I know no one wants to do a lot of reading, but spend some time reading this. And you're literally reading into the mind of the chief financial officer of APHA. This is something that's very informative. You get to see his answers, what his reasoning is. You can compare it to what you know. And I just essentially, if you're invested in APHA, this is a great resource to do your due diligence and at least reassure your decision in this company. So that will be down there in the description if you want to check it out as well. And last but not least, I have to leave another fantastic article here written by Todd Harrison, the U.S. Cannabis Long Squeeze. Just basically him reiterating why he believes this is such a great generational opportunity, why I believe so too, and that's why I'm putting it in here, because if you're taking the time to educate yourself, then make sure you're reading the best possible materials, and this is a very good one to, again, just expand your horizons and give you the ability to look a bit further out, 5 years, 10 years down the line, and really see how big this industry can grow. And that is it for this week, folks. I hope you enjoyed this midweek update. If you learned something, please leave a like on the video and subscribe if you want to see more, and let me know in the discussion if I missed anything or anything that you can add. Let's talk about this, and I'm sharing what I know so that hopefully any of you can help yourselves as well, because yeah, this past week has been very profitable for me, and I imagine if you've gotten in, it's been very profitable for yourself too. So have yourself a wonderful week, and I will see you on Sunday, everybody. Take care.